fully digital TCG that's very similar to Magic the Gathering, but it uses a digital design space to reduce some of the frustrating variants that cause us to lose some of those games, because sometimes you do just lose to variants. One of the sweet things that Hex does that reduces variance, you can see here, I've kept a single resource hand in the Sapphire Ice, but the Sapphire Ice is very powerful. It uses a mechanic called Fate Weave, which is basically everything a Scryland wishes it was. So when I play this resource out, in addition to giving me a permanent resource and a blue threshold, it lets me choose between Seek Fortune and Seek Adventure. So basically I get to stack my deck here. I'm going to guarantee that the card I draw next turn is going to be a resource on top of my deck. The deck I'm playing here is a combination Reanimator deck and a Storm-esque combo type deck post-board against an aggressive deck like what my opponent's playing. We go on the Reanimator plan. We discard this large troop, which is an 8/8 with Steadfast, and when it's in play, it gives myself and all my other troops the Invincible mechanic, so they don't take damage. Another great way that Hex reduces variance is that Hex doesn't generate the opening hands using a pure random algorithm like we get in Magic, because that's the only option we have. Hex uses a modified hypergeometric distribution to eliminate kind of the most resource light and most resource dense hands from the game. So basically everyone mulligans less. The 10% most resource light and 5% most resource dense hands just don't get generated. So there's those non-games where you're just like mulliganing to 5 because you have all lands and no lands, just like they don't happen. Is Hex a pay-to-play? Hex is whatever you want it to be. So unlike a lot of the CCGs out there, like Eternal and Hearthstone and Test Legends, like Hex has a full buy-sell trade secondary market, so you're not just vomiting money into the CCG money pit. You actually are building a collection that has a real investment and long-term monetary value. Just like when you are playing in, you know, a paper TCG or Magic Online, you're not just vomiting money away. Go ahead and put Seek Fortune here. I'm going to go ahead. So I guarantee there's a resource on top of my deck. I'm going to go ahead and loot. I'm going to go ahead and discard this Aegilus. So something here, you'll notice that my opponent and I each have different pictures on our guys. Those aren't just cosmetic. They determine our starting life total in addition to they determine our starting life total, and they determine our champion ability. My champion ability, basically, every time I play 3 resources, I can draw a card and discard a card, so it kind of helps enable my Reanimator ability. My opponent's champion, for 3 charges every time they play 3 resources, it creates these Dreadling troops that attack in and then sacrifice themselves at end of turn. It kind of helps enable their cards that care about having... Their deck is full of cards that use this mechanic called Scrounge that give them bonuses when they exile troops from their discard pile. One of the reasons I really enjoy Hex is that Hex is has a very good competitive scene. So every single weekend they have 2 $1,000 cash tournaments that you can play in that are just open entry. There's no jumping through any type of hoops to qualify for them. There's a standard constructed tournament on Saturdays that is a $7 entry fee and pays out $1,000 cash to the top 4 competitors in it, and in-game prizes to the top 32 players past those top 4. Every Sunday they have a $15 tournament that's a sealed tournament, so that includes 6 booster packs. The competitive decks in Hex range anywhere from $50 to $150, depending on the season and the deck that you're looking at. The competitive ladder, like these matches that I'm playing here, unlike the $100 we spent in the last day to play a bunch of Magic Online, it doesn't actually cost you money to play competitive matches in Hex, except for the tournaments on the weekends that pay out cash prizes. So just to play on the ladder and earn the in-game prizes from the ladder, you don't have to put any money in. So once you own a deck, you can sit there and just play and earn prizes on the ladder. So basically, there's not a huge detriment to like buying a tier 2 or a tier 3 deck that's budget. There's reasonable budget decks that start as cheap as, you know, $20, and when you have them, you can just play a bunch and just earn more stuff. You earn free event entries and booster packs and stuff like that that you can use to enter limited events just by playing. I keep a list of budget Hex decks here, and I keep a link kind of explaining some of the key differences between Magic and Hex at that second link there as well. Hex currently has 7 sets in it. every time. They aim to release a new set every 4 months or so. So we had a set release, I believe it was about 6 weeks ago now. So we'll probably have our set 8 release sometime like 2.5 months from now. The standard rotation, so there's 4 or 5 sets in their standard at any given point. Every time an even set releases, the oldest 2 sets rotate out. So when set 8 hits in about 2 months, the oldest 2 sets will rotate out, sets 3 and sets 4. Because I have this Aegilus in play, I am currently invincible. So if my opponent attacks me with a bunch of this stuff, I'm just not going to block because I'm invincible. Aha, aha, aha. I take 0 damages. Let's go ahead and play this Heart's Whisper here. This lets me Fate Weave and then draw 2 cards, so I'm going to guarantee a resource drop here. Ding. Be happy. Man, I've done this enough times. I know what's up. Alright, let's just attack with both of these. So Aegilus doesn't make himself invincible, so we don't want to attack with him, but he does make my other guys invincible here, so these are free attacks. Is mono red a safe investment as far as rotation is concerned? Yeah, I don't think there's anything critical rotating out of mono red. That being said, one of the things that Hex is very upfront and open about is there's no surprise bans or unbans in Hex like there are in Magic. Hex is a very public watch list, and one of the cards in the mono red deck is currently on the watch list for potentially being banned in the standard format. It's a card called Lasgar's Vengeance. That being said, the mono red deck will certainly exist in some fashion, even if that card is banned, but it probably won't be the best deck in the format. Like, the Ruby aggressive decks are 2 of the best decks in the format right now. But without Lasgar's Vengeance, they would definitely still be playable, but they would not be the best decks in the format anymore. Which wouldn't necessarily be a bad thing, I don't think. One of the nice things about Hex is because they're run by a smaller company, they have to be kind of open and upfront about that kind of stuff, because like if they're not open and upfront about that kind of stuff, people are going to like stop playing their game. Like, it's not like Magic where like they can basically just do whatever they want and people are going to keep coming back because, oh, it's Magic and I want to keep playing Magic. Like, they actually listen to people. I'm pretty good about responding to reasonable feedback. Gonna let it happen. So, generally speaking, when I get Aegilus into play here against these aggressive decks, sometimes they have ways in their reserves to play to remove them. Oh, and that's a good thing too, because I forget people are so used to the digital CCGs, they're just like, everything's about fast and not about quality gameplay. Hex's ladder is best of 3 with a reserve, so like, again, you reduce variance by getting to play best of 3. So like, if you get cheesed out of a game, you have a chance to, make that game back up. And now that we drew a second Aegilus here, that's actually going to be the hard lock. The Ruby and Blood colors don't actually have a way to get rid of an invincible troop in this format generally. So when I put the second Aegilus into play here, it's going to go ahead and the Aegiluses will make each other invincible. And then my opponent should be locked out of the game because they won't be able to kill either of my Aegiluses. Put in the second Aegilus. And now this guy can go ahead and attack now because he's invincible from this one. Alright, sweet. Alright, how am I boarding in this matchup? Bringing in the extra Transmogrifade. Withering Gaze is kind of medium. I guess I could trim a Heart's Whisper. That doesn't seem terrible. I think it's just 1 Transmogrifade in, 1 Heart's Whisper out. My deck's kind of slanted to be decent against aggressive decks in game 1, especially if I can get Aegilus out early like that. Eternal Seeker's our other bomb that we can reanimate. It's a 5/5 with Flight that when it comes into play, we choose a number and we void all cards that cost that amount. So I think I'm just going to bring in the extra Transmogrifade and click Submit here. Dread End could be like okay, but I think it's a little mediocre overall in this matchup. This is more for like the Bloodwild, Deathcry style decks. Another thing that's kind of awesome about Hex is that unlike Magic, they're not afraid of data. So Hex, as soon as this match finishes, I can go online and there is a website where I can look and see the matches that just got finished. So like if you're playing against someone, you're like, oh, their deck's kind of sweet. I would really like to kind of I would like to see their deck and like see what they're building. You can go and see what their deck list was card for card. I don't know about strong, but I'm definitely still going. I am here. We finally missed cashing a league with Tron, which was kind of sad. We're on a 6-league cash streak with that. That seems loose. Seeker's like one of the best cards in this deck. Look, I said that I was going to do a 24-hour stream, and I deliver on my promises. Huh. So this hand has Aegilus in the opener, but the problem is, so these cards don't actually make me a color towards my champion power or my other cards. They just strip the colors off them. I think this is okay because I have this Blood Ice that can Fate Weave a resource for me, but we need to draw a Sapphire or two to get this hand rolling for sure. Gotten. Do 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 do. They disappear, so tell me, oh, this ain't love, then how do we get out? Man, if Magic had Fate Weave, it would be so great. I'm gonna put a non-resource on top of my deck here. I'm gonna go ahead and stick the Thunderfield Seer into play. My opponents had an exceptionally slow start here, which is really good for us. They just like didn't do anything in the first 2 turns of the game. Often when you're playing the aggressive deck, you probably want to mulligan hands like this. They better have a bunch of powerful 3s if they didn't do anything in the first 2 turns of the game. So unlike that deck, Dayjeff, this deck actually can't do that. We were guaranteed to draw Sapphires or draw more Permafrost. Because we actually only have one, what's the word I'm looking for? We only have one non-Sapphire, non-Permafrost resource in the deck. That other deck, when we Fate Weaved, had a bunch of non-diamond resources that could hit, right? Told her I love you, girl, but I'm not the answer for the questions that you... Oh, that's... Oh, wait, what? Alright, well, so this card is modal, and I should have runebound it, because it could have voided the troop from my crypt here. Instead, my opponent drew cards. Huh. So, my opponent drew cards there. I think that means they probably have an answer to my Aegilus, which means I probably want to wait until I can protect it with this Runebind. No. Had a choice. Another Runebind too. Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and Heart's Whisper here. Guarantee a resource. Sweet. I'm going to play this out. We're going to loot here. Yeah, I'll loot. We could have Transmogrifade or Withering Gaze, maybe. I'll put an Internal Seeker in case we have another Reanimate spell here. I'm going to keep this other one in hand so we can just play it out when we get to 7. Yeah, a lot of the Redlings deck play either Casualty of War or Gruesome Deed in their reserves. They play 2 to 3 copies of them. They could have, sometimes they have Hero Fall. It's rare that they have Hero Fall. Opposing troop would die, void it. Yeah, I don't really care about that. Weird. And my opponent had Blood's Favor in their board too, so I wonder what cards they have in their board, because like they've played a lot of board cards at this point. I don't hate you. I'm gonna go ahead and play this out. Do this on here. And Mordrom's gift back the Aegilus here. And again, if they do try to kill this Aegilus, I can Runebind it in response to protect it. We can, man, can we Runebind it in response. So they're going to need 2 removal spells on their turn to kill this, one of which is going to have to be quick. Hex guilds don't really have any, there aren't really official Hex guilds. So, like, technically, you can't actually do Fate Weave in Magic because Fate Weaves can stack in Hex. Because Hex doesn't shuffle your deck for things like this because there are, you only shuffle so much in Magic to avoid people cheating and stacking their deck, right? So, like, in a game like this where the computer's making sure no one's stacking their deck, like, if you Fate Weave a second time, unless you Fate Weave that exact same random non-resource or resource to the top of your deck again, you're stacking 2 different things on top because it's not shuffling in between. It doesn't need to ensure the integrity of the game. Hey, na 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 na. Opponent just concedes. Apparently they do not have a way to get Aegilus off the table. Sure, deal. So I'm currently ranked 7 on their ladder. So at the end of their seasons are 2 months long. In addition to having open entry $1,000 cash tournaments every weekend, Hex has a $5,000 cash invite only tournament every other month that the top 64 players on their constructed and limited ladders get invited to. So opponent is likely playing an aggressive deck again. So one of the awesome things about champions is that I can make informed mulliganing decisions here. So, like, I look at my opponent playing this Torque Slam Sticks, and this is generally an aggressive champion. Sheep 577 looks awful. Let's fix that. And thumbs up for being still entertaining after so many hours of streaming. Thank you for the donation. I really appreciate that. I'm doing swell. I am doing swell. So this hand, unfortunately, I might be inclined to keep this against an aggressive deck because it has Aegilus in the opener. But this Well, unfortunately, requires me to already have a threshold in order to make a new threshold. So I think I'm just going to replace, because obviously we can't play any of our cards. This hand's actually very good. It's got Aegilus in it, and it's got the Mordrom's gift to bring it back. So hopefully we can live till turn 4. Sometimes this deck is really aggressive and kills us turn 4 on the play. With Thunderfield Seer and Transmogrifade, we can probably not die turn 4. They didn't have a 1-drop. That's great for us. And again, we kept a 1 resource hand, but the Fate Weave on here guarantees that we're going to hit a resource next turn. And if we're lucky enough to Fate Weave another Ice to the top of our deck, it'll guarantee we hit a 3rd resource. Hey, na 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 na. Hey, na 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 na. Ding. Hey, na 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 na. I'm gonna put another resource on top of my deck here. I'm gonna go ahead and hold up Transmogrifade this turn in case my opponent plays another speed troop. Why do you say that? I'm not familiar with the Star Wars card game at all. What it did. It had a lot of interesting mechanics. There's a Boltwing Phoenix. So Transmogrifade uses a little bit of RNG that's usually beneficial for us. It takes my opponent's troop and turns it into a random troop with -1 cost. So it removed the speed off of that. So I'm not going to get attacked by it this turn. So we're going to hit another resource here. Hopefully we hit a non-slow shard. That's a slow shard. It's a touch unfortunate. Alright, so let's go ahead and do this. And then I'm going to go ahead and play this Thunderfield Seer out here. And then I'm going to hit my champion power to draw a card and discard a card. Hopefully we draw a non-slow shard next turn. If we don't draw a non-slow shard next turn, we're going to have to try and live till turn 5, which could get a little dicey if they have like a Mama Yeti or something here. A Boltwing Phoenix, sure. They might hit their champion power here. Their champion power gives all their troops Gladiator 1, which powers up their attack until end of turn. Yep, so I'm going to cash in this Thunderfield Seer's gain 3 here. Take 6 down to 11. Yeah, we need to hit a non-slow shard this turn. Which, unfortunately, there's a lot of slow shards in our deck, so how lucky are we? Pretty unlucky. Yeah, I assume we're dead here. I'm gonna grab a resource here in case we have a non-slow shard. And, well, that was almost the perfects. We'll see if this Runebind can prevent us from dying this turn. Our opponent's got 6 points of power on board, and we're at 11. Hopefully they just have, like, a Mama Yeti here. They have, like, one big play. So let's Runebind this. We needed, like, them to not have Lasgars plus Fireball or Lasgar plus Lasgar. And then we can put the Aegilus into play next turn. The 3-1 has Swift Strike, so it was the same. Swift Strike's basically like First Strike, so it gets to hit first. We're into 5 here. Please don't kill me. Please don't kill me. Please don't kill me. Oh, jeez. Oh, jeez. Get some egg on your face, opponent. Did you consider getting egg on your face at any point? Day this ends. Giving what I've done. It's out what I've begun. Today's this end. Go of what I've done. Na na na. Have you played Pokemon TCG? The Pokemon TCG is actually very, very technically difficult as far as like complexity goes. I was really impressed with it when I was playing it. So it's fairly difficult for my opponent's deck to remove the Aegilus from play. Usually they need like 3 ruby removal spells, so hopefully we can close this game out before they find that many, or find another Aegilus before they do and reanimate it back into play. Things have been, oh, ooh, the way the things have been, oh, ooh. That's a pretty good way to, I think I'm obligated to block here, so if they have Lasgars, they get to kill this. I think I'm obligated to block here, because otherwise it's just to keep making burn to the grounds. And, like, burn to the ground plus Lasgars is probably going to kill this anyway, so I might as well just, like, do it now. Message in the vein. So this card, every time it attacks, if they have 5 ruby thresholds, it creates a card called Burn to the Ground, which is essentially a fireball for them. You perk me up, believer. Believer. Hey. Lasgar's Vengeance is a card they could have that does 4 damage to my troops. They have fireball plus the Burn to the Ground too. Okay. Not gonna get out of this one. Yeah, Aegilus makes us invulnerable, so we need to draw a reanimate spell here. That's a really unfortunate draw, because we would have been able to turn things around if we'd have had that last turn. What's my best line here? I'm gonna stack a non-resource on top of my deck here. I have to live through this turn cycle. Is the goal here. Mordrom's Gift. Okay. That's a really good one. So if they draw a resource this turn, we get to Mordrom's Gift this back into our thing. Because we can re-Runebind this and then chump. So they drew a resource for the turn. This has been a really close game. Oh, this Frostfang Cackler kills us, right? Let's see if they notice that. Yep, they noticed it. Damn! So, Frostfang Cackler can activate to give a troop +3 power. So I can Runebind this guy. This came up a little bit short. I think we would have won this game on the play, too. So close. So incredibly close. hit the Matriarch at the right time. Then we hit the Runebind the next turn and just weren't able to... Exactly lethal. It's always like, whenever I lose a game like that going to exactly 0, it's like, man, did I miss a point somewhere where like I could have gained a slightly better edge? Bringing Violet's Caress in this matchup, an extra Transmogrifade. I don't think Withering Gaze is as important against this deck. Could I have ignored the Matriarch? I don't think I could have. I could have ignored the Matriarch for one turn, but like I couldn't know I was drawing Runebind, so like it was gonna keep generating a burn to the ground every time it attacks. So like maybe I'm supposed to reevaluate that decision, but like I didn't. I felt like I had to just like call there and like try and get it off the table, because like if they didn't have something that turn, they could have just been like taking the line that they took. So this hand's functional, but I don't know if functional is good enough in this matchup. My opponent's deck is pretty aggressive, so I think I need just like an Aegilus or a Reanimate spell in my opener. And there's a Reanimate spell, so that's pretty good for us. So let's go ahead and we're going to lead on Sapphire Ice for a non-shard here, which is a little greedy, but at the same time, like, I need to find an Aegilus to put in my bin ASAP. We're going to see a couple extra cards with Focus and a couple extra cards with Theorize here too, so just to impress. Violet's Caress is pretty good. That's going to be able to kill this Bolt Spasm. I'm going to lead on Arcane Focus here, see what we find. There's the Aegilus. Alright. Let's get set up for a turn 4 on the play here. Put a resource on top of my deck. On the table, yeah. Here's hoping we hit a blood threshold here. Yeah, he'd be able to use the burn to the ground to kill the Aegilus. Yeah, that was my line of thinking. Let's do this. Put another resource on top of my deck. Time's young, hard times go. So instead of holding up Runebind here, I'm going to cast Theorize because I want to try and guarantee a non-slow shard to cast this next turn. Man, that's a fucking tilt. Huh. Do I need this Runebind for next turn? I feel like I need this Runebind for next turn. Yeah, I'm just going to bin this Sapphire Shard. So next turn I can play this Primal Prism for blood. Unfortunately, this doesn't make... This is a slow resource. It doesn't make a resource that turn. Yeah. Yeah, so like they would have killed the Aegilus the following turn, right? And then I'd have died. Table, yeah. Losing you. You're alive. What a good song. We Are Alive. What a good closer. I am definitely Death Valley by FOB. Opponent trying to figure out how they want to min-max here. So, like, the problem is if they, like, pre-combat burn to the ground plus fire the other thing. Oh, we could have bound the burn to... But then, see, the problem is then they just generate another burn to the ground the next turn, right? Down to 9. Yep. Well, that's not the well I was hoping for. Should know. God, I'm dead, aren't I? We're probably dead. Day that I met you. Hopefully this plus this lets us live here. Again, they kill on turn 4 with the reasonable amount of consistency. Never forget you. Always be by my side till the day I die. Dead to Fireball here. Exactly dead to Fireball here. This is 4 points of damage. Dead to second Fireball. Dead to Lasgars for 1, 2. Am I dead? Am I dead? It's funny how it changes, like, as the time changes, because, like, we played 3 control mirrors in a row last night when we were playing this deck, and now we've played 2 aggro matchups in a row. Never forget you. Always be... Am I not dead? I feel like I might not be dead yet. Met you. Love you till the day I die. Till the day I die. Man, for fuck's sake. I was just about to say, if they come out of this and fireball us, I'm gonna be really tilted. That's exactly what fucking happened. If you're gonna spill your drink, can you, like, do it after you kill me instead of making me wait 90 seconds? Tilt. My connection with you. Forget you. Always be by my side. They killed us on 4 through a reasonable amount of interaction, right? We had a... No, I guess we didn't interact till our turn 4, right? Just it wasn't that much. We probably need like 3 pieces of interaction to get through. Howdy, Hakeswill. Till the day I die. Thank you everyone for hanging out towards the tail end of my stream here. Happy Sunday wherever you're at in the world. There's a lot of different things you could be doing, different people you could be watching. Thanks for choosing to spend your time here with me. Just playing some Hex Shards of Fate to wrap things up. Stream lots of Hex and Magic here on this channel. Big thank you to everyone who donated a whole bunch to extend the stream up. I wish Sparrow had 2 more health, right? It's tough, like, and that's what makes Dreaming Fox so good, right? Like, the fact that Dreaming Fox has 25 starting life is so huge. Like, the number of games where, like, they kill me to exactly dead on turn 4 is just like, ugh. Alright, another chance at an aggressive deck here. This opponent's disconnected. Oh no, opponent. Come back, I want to play Hex. I would like to play Hex, opponent. Alright, we don't have a Reanimate spell, but we got an Aegilus on our opener. We got a Thunderfield Seer. Let's do it. Man, the number of slow shards this deck plays is not negligible. I might look into adjusting the resource base in this deck. Might look into adjusting the resource base in this deck. I really wish we had a second all blood reanimate card so we didn't have to splash Rotten Rancor. Second Seer's decent here. Again, losing the coin flip. I think the tier 1 decks right now are Mana Ruby, Redlings, Sapphire Diamond Control, Blood Wild, Deathcries, and Empress is, like, kind of close. I think watching the events of the last couple of weeks, I'm kind of, like, edging out that Empress probably isn't tier 1, but definitely those first 4. The 2 Ruby aggressive decks, the Diamond Sapphire control deck, and the Blood Wild Takahiro Deathcry deck are all very powerful, reasonable decks. I feel like people have really started to optimize their builds now, and like Empress just didn't get that much better. Like gaining Runebind wasn't so good that it can like overcome how much worse the what's the word I'm looking for? How much worse losing the Dreadling gem on the Warp Steel was. If they want to trade here, I'm okay with that. Sting Shot Sniper is kind of scary. When this attacks, it deals damage equal to its power to one random opposing champion or troop. Resource for Heart's Whisper is not bad. Let's go ahead and do this and grab non-resource here, because I would like to find a reanimate spell. Alright, we hit the reanimate spell. Sweet. So we're going to get to go ahead and go Permafrost, Champ Power next turn, loot away the Aegilus, and put the Aegilus into play. Which, the Winter Moon control deck I think is a little bit worse than Sapphire Diamond control, but like, it's still plenty playable. It's like solid tier 2. I know plenty of people that played it all the way into Cosmic and has top 8'd and done well in a couple of events. If it has play patterns you enjoy, I don't know if it's that much for it. Virtual Hermit, can you try Cyclone Shaper in Turbo PA? Yes. Yes, we can. In fact, when we wrap up here with this Reanimator Storm deck, we can play some Turbo PA. Turbo PA is a sweet deck for demonstrating some of the sweet things you can do at Hex too. Sarah. This opponent appears to be mildly AFK. In me. It sounds like the children have awoke from their slumber.
Happy 22nd hour, Dad.
Good morning, children. How are my crazy-haired children?
He's sleeping through your voice.
How does he sleep through my voice? He has lots of practice. The tier 1 decks, so like the tier 1 decks I just named, the Mono Ruby deck and the Redlings deck are a little under $100 each, I believe. The Diamond Sapphire control deck is probably closer to 140 or 150, and the Deathcry deck is probably similar, closer to 140 or 150. There's some tier 2 decks that are cheaper than that. I keep a list of budget Hex decks over here. The Hex constructed ladder is completely free to play on, so like picking up a budget deck and using that to grind the ladder to like get the free in-game prizes so you can like build up a collection and like just make a small investment and then earn extra is very, very reasonable. Yeah, the decks that Empress was really good against were like the Ardent decks and the other like mid-range troop decks, not these hyper-aggressive aggro decks. Wonder if my opponent here is having connection issues. Or they have something else go up. They were disconnected at the start of this match, and now they're just like waiting a whole bunch here. I think the Takahiro Deathcry decks are very reasonable. I'm not a big fan of like Novocaine's Kaigalichu variation. Alright, so we're gonna take a pretty sizable hit of damage this turn, but at the same time, I'm gonna flip an Aegilus out next turn, so I'm really not too worried about it. They need double Lasgars to punish. There's links to all of my Hex decks linked down below the stream as well. Just like my Magic decks, there's a different link for the Hex decks. In addition to Hex Primal, Hex also has an in-game auction house where other players sell things on there. If you go to the website hexsales.com, or it's hexprice.com, right? Hexprice, I believe. Hexprice can show you real-time auction house prices on there of things that people are selling in-game, and sometimes you can get a better deal in Platinum than you can from buying from somewhere like Hex Primal, if you want to do a little bit of legwork and compare prices. The conversion ratio that you want to know is 100 plat is 1 USD. Dollar holla.
Where are the poles? Poles? The fishing poles? Oh, I found two.
Put my noise gate back on now that the kids are up and Maddie's no longer talking. Can do it better than them. Better. Opponent could be in the tank here again, or they could be trying to figure out can they beat this Aegilus, or they could just be AFK again. Slow opponents. The Take All the Turns deck did rotate out, unfortunately. So Hex is Immortal format, exists, and they talk about it, but it doesn't really have great support right now. I'm hoping that by the time set 8 hits, it'll have a little bit better support. I would really like incentive to play the non-rotating format, but they really don't have good prizes for it currently, if we're being above the board and honest. Never tell you can do it better than you can do it better than them. This. Yeah, that sounds about right. Which one are you looking at, Pimped Up Monk? And again, you could do a quick spot check on comparing prices between that and the hexprice.com if you want to compare to what the auction house cards sell for. Better than them. Oh, connection issues. Z's. Thank you everyone for hanging out here this morning. Say hi to my wife in the background. Wild Sapphire Control. Yeah, that deck's reasonable. That's the Winter Moon deck, right? That's fine. Like I said, I think it's a little bit worse than Winter Moon. It's a little bit worse than Diamond Sapphire Control deck on average, but I think it's still plenty powerful. Great. Let's put a non-resource on top of my deck here, and then go ahead and play my Thunderfield Seer and Fate Weave that up. I'm going to attack with this because they need double Fireball to kill it here. And if they have double Fireball, they're probably going to kill it at some point anyways. Actually, I could Runebind the second Fireball. This draws 2 cards. Yep. Yeah, Hustler is very good. I agree. People are always interested in talking about rotation too. So if you're just interested in something to like climb up the ladder with, and you're not, and you're looking to budget a couple of cards, the main 2 cards I would recommend avoiding picking up if you want to be rotation proof in your decks. The cards Transmogrifade and Runebind Hierophant, you can budget out for other things in a lot of the builds. Those are the 2 most expensive cards from set 3 and set 4 that are going to rotate when set 8 hits. Runebinds, Evaporates, stuff like that. Similar staples that do serve a close to the same function, but are going to be much cheaper and then not rotate. Know you is going down. Come around. Runebind isn't much cheaper, but it's not rotating. So again, it's not about, it's about making your investment go further, is what I'm referring to. So like, people, you know, Transmogrifade is probably going to be worth half of what it's worth when it rotates, right? Probably. Or less, depending on like how well supported Immortal is and which deck sets he's playing there. So like, Runebind came out in set 7. So Runebind's not going to be rotate out of standard until set 12 releases. So this card's going to be legal for like another year, basically. Another year and a half, even. Dang. Board like this? Are we boarding against the other Ruby deck? Take me on the floor, da 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 da. Want you to show you love. I agree. Runear is probably a little bit more difficult to replace. I'd probably recommend just like avoiding decks that play Runear. Whereas like Runebind and Evaporate, like Runebind and Evaporate aren't strictly worse than Transmogrifade. They're just like kind of different, so they have like ups and downs in different spots. In fact, against like decks like what I'm playing, you could argue that Evaporate's much better against like Aegilus when I'm cheating it into play. Transmogging Aegilus is generally not a happy experience for the Transmogger most of the time. Da 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 da. Just turns into. Anyone who's been playing Hex for a while since Transmog released knows the pain of transmogging their 3-drops into God, what was that fucking card? Soul Cavalry? Like, you transmog their Crusader and all of a sudden they have a 6/6 with Spell Shield and you're like, oh, fuck my life! Or transmogging 2-drops into the Giant Butterfly. That was when. So, Transmogrifade used to be able to turn things into created cards, not just like cards that you could open out of booster packs and put into your decks. So, it was, yeah, just like, or the 6/3 Spell Shield. It was really, really obnoxious. It was still playable, like we still played like 3 and 4 of them in a lot of decks, like it's a very powerful card. It was just much higher variance then. It was just like, well, we know we need to do this thing. We're not excited about it, but this is what we're doing with our lives. Yeah, there's still some big hits, but they're not nearly as blowoutish as they were prior, right? That's some harsh. You're not wrong. It was pretty close. It was definitely fun from a observer perspective. Being on the receiving end of it in like a match that like you felt was relevant or mattered for something was exceedingly frustrating. I mean, sometimes transmogging Awoken is your only option to not die to it. So like, you know, if the options are like death or not death, you probably choose not death most of the time. Scale them up. We're going to transmog this now so it doesn't make a Valor for them. I'm going to play this Thunderfield Seer out here. Yep, that's exactly how it works, Pimped Up Monk. And if you do decide to like play in the cash tournament even before you stop losing a bunch, like the 1K tournament costs $7 to enter. And like if you just like ladder up, you can actually like get booster packs from playing on the ladder and then sell those booster packs for platinum and then use that platinum to enter the tournament. Looks like they might not have a third resource, which would be great for us. We also might not have a third resource though, which is bad for us. Taking 5 here from these 2 dorks. Please don't have another 1-drop. Yeah. Alright, let's play this Theorize. Let's Prophesize. Draw 2, discard 1, and then draw an extra 1 afterwards. That's a resource that we're looking for. Let's bin this Eternal Seeker, draw an extra 1. I'm gonna go ahead and play this out and grab a second Sapphire here. Probably gonna be rune binding this Scapegoat here. Otherwise, we're gonna take a hit for 4 from it. Yeah, that's true, Exington. Once you hit Cosmic, you don't keep getting rewards for winning matches on demand, which is something that they're aware of that sucks, and they're going to be addressing at some point, they said. Hopefully sooner rather than later. They have a riposte here. They could riposte this and then beat us down. It would kind of suck. That being said, they probably want to save a riposte for this Mordrom's Gift. Addy. Probably gonna lead on Theorize next turn. Killing me. Yep, just dome me for 3 with this. Yep. Yep. Alright, 3U. Yep, yep. Probably dead here. Paper. Alright, pass the turn. I'm assuming they're just gonna kill us with a Fireball or Lasgar's Vengeance or a thing here. Yep, every season you have to get back to Cosmic, and you get rewards for getting back to Cosmic, right? So like, you're earning things. Basically, every 2 months your ladder rewards reset, and you can earn all the booster packs and gold that you get on the way up. I think I'm supposed to hold this Runebind for like a lethal Fireball here like this. And if they have 2 lethal Fireballs here, like a Fireball plus a Riposte. I think they have a Riposte the way they paused. Nope, apparently they don't. Alright, we're going to 1 off of this. Do you have a... Thank you, sir. Do you have another? Am I dead? Am I dead? Are you gonna dead me, opponent? Are you gonna dead me? Kill me! We could draw an Aegilus next turn. We've got 2 shots in Aegilus. We got our draw step plus our champion power to put an Aegilus in the bin that we could use this Mordrom's gift on. Second best thing to an Aegilus is a non-slow shard here. Marquis, I want you to want me. I want you to need. So, this Eternal Seeker gets to come into play here and void everything that costs 2. So it gets rid of that Fireball that we Runebind ensued. If they hit a resource here, they won't kill us with that. That being said, we're dead to a lot here, right? Like every speed troop in their deck kills us. That's why, ideally, we wanted to hit a non-slow shard there so we could have Runebind and Transmog up, but we didn't. So we're just like, you know, asking the questions, do you have it? Am I dead? You know, the important questions you have to ask the red deck player on occasion. Hollywood. Feel good. Music just take control. So here's my confession. This time, let me want to be your obsession. Probably answered this post the other day. What do you think about the Lasgards that should be in? I wouldn't be so this is kind of an interesting perspective from like a game design and like format design perspective. I don't think Lasgar's Vengeance is too powerful in the context of the format as a whole. I think there's plenty of other strategies that are like competitive and can like keep up with it fully or can be marginally better than it even if they're focused on beating it. But I do think having Lasgar's Vengeance in the format does constrain the decks that people are able to play a little bit. So like the card Lasgar's Vengeance kind of pushes mid-range decks out of the format, right? Like any of the aggressive decks that are just a little bit bigger, usually traditionally speaking in like aggressive mirrors, the deck that's a little bit bigger is favored, but Lasgar's Vengeance changes that dynamic completely. Like it takes all of these aggressive decks that are just like slightly bigger than these Ruby aggressive decks and makes them completely unplayable because the Ruby aggressive decks are able to get under them a little bit and then clear out their blockers with Lasgar's Vengeance and have reach from it. So while I think there are 3 or 4 other decks that could be like tier 1 or tier 1.5 while Lasgar's Vengeance exists in the format, I think you'd probably have, I think by removing Lasgar's Vengeance from the format, you would open up a selection of decks that are like solidly tier 2.5, tier 3, and like make them very reasonable and competitive. And honestly, like, the Redlings deck, when you think about it, like, the Redlings deck generates plenty of really powerful draws and does really strong things that don't involve Lasgar's Vengeance a lot of the time. Like, you still win plenty of games without that card, and I think it would be kind of interesting to see, like, how that deck developed and changed. I think that deck would still definitely exist without Lasgar's in the format. Like, maybe you play a bunch of Primordial Sabertooths in your main decks, you just, like, have some actual quality removal to clear their blockers out of the way. I'm not sure. It could be prompt. It could be something like Sabertooth. Yeah, like Crusader's a very powerful card. Very, very powerful card. crying. Apologies for my opponent having a few more connection issues here. We are at 1. And we might be dead here. My opponent's having a connection issue, so they might just, like, reconnect and kill us here. So, something that Hex does, and I like this, is they've taken a hard line saying they will never modify the text of a card once it's released and people have purchased it. And I like this from the perspective of the fact that they're building a game that has multiple formats in it, right? So, like, just because Lasgar's might be too strong or oppressive in Standard, it doesn't mean that you don't want to play the card in PvE. Or what if you bought the card for an Immortal deck where it's, like, fine in Immortal where the power level of cards is a little bit higher on average that are seeing play. So by not modifying cards, you can remove cards that are too powerful for Standard, but still allow them to be enjoyed and be powerful in other formats. See, I feel like there's more play to Culmination in Blood, though. Culmination in Blood, you can often control how your opponent's able to enable their Culmination in Blood based on how you're blocking and trading in combat early. And you can also just, like, play your cards out aggressively to get under Culmination in Blood. Whereas, like, Lasgar's Vengeance often doesn't have that option. Alright, well, this is the part where we try and close the game. So I have these Transmogrifades in this Runebind. Let's attack my opponent 5 times before they draw out of this. And, like, Immortal doesn't currently see much support, but, like, when Immortal has better prizes, like, Lasgar's Vengeance is probably going to be a very reasonable and balanced card there. Alright, well, Runebind that. Yeah, I think if it was modal, it would be much more balanced. Be plenty fine. Yeah, correct. Lasgar's Vengeance is often, well, I'm screwed if I don't play things out because they're just going to run me over, but I'm also screwed if I do play things out because they're going to get to clear my board. I do think it takes away some of the strategy and back and forth in those matchups. I agree with that. Well, we're dead if they draw a resource. And an Emperor's Lackey is going to disappear with set 8, right? So we're gonna need 2 things to go right here. So Burning Tendrils are thing. So I transmogged it in response. Now we have to transmog this and have it not have power. So this is pretty unlikely that we're gonna hit both of these. Oh god, we hit them both. Alright. Alright. I mean, we're still dead to them drawing a shard, right? It's like everything came up Millhouse here for us. Play this out. What does this do? A troop enters an opposing crypt. Put this out here. Then do a resource off the top of their deck. Gotta try and kill him. Ah, rats! Alright, we're dead. I get to play game 3 on the play here. That's a close game. Hush, little baby. Boiled milk. Crazy. Prescription pill. We were dead to a lot. You're not wrong. We were dead to burn spells. Like, we're strongly not a favorite to win that game. We were doing the best with what we could. The bed, a lullaby, and After this match, we're going to go ahead and switch over to the Turbo PA deck for a little bit. We had a donation asking to see Cyclone Shaper in that deck, which seems really sweet. I'll be sure like 3 copies. 12 more, you're talking about practically killing. I can't do another 12. So this hand has Aegilus and Mordrom's Gift to the opener. It doesn't actually make any thresholds currently, but it has a Theorize to discard said Aegilus, so like, I'm gonna go ahead and play keep the Permafrost Greed Keep. Is that true, Tom? I don't know if that's true. I must have missed that message. I probably would have tried to stay awake for 36 hours if I had seen that. Ding, ding, ding. Oh, you know what? I should have permafrosted this, right? Because I need to, I need a blood to play this still. I missed that. That's so sad. Well, I am a professional. Put another resource on top of my deck here. I'm not going to focus this turn just because I know I have on top of my deck what I want. I can transmog one of their plays. Next turn we'll play this for blood, and then we'll Mordrom's Gift the Aegilus back into play. More removal. Casualties of War. Reap. Reap's a reasonable card. Oh, you know what? I should have killed this one because it has more power here. Because they're going to be able to flip this and then use it to deal damage to my Aegilus. Hi, Declan. How are you doing, buddy? You being good upstairs? Don't lie to me. Don't lie to me. I'm coming for you, child. Be good. You better than he can, and any girl like you deserves a. And know that. Wasting time, why are we wasting time when you be with me instead? Better than he can. Opponent, please end this game quickly. I need to use the restroom. Oh, before we settle in for the last hour and a half. I'm actually going to auto pass and run to the restroom really quick here. I'll be right back, folks. That's fine. Those are just those silly magic players. I actually need to get rid of this, right? This thing, when it hits 20 counters, it turns into a clutch. This deals damage. Create a random eternal and put it in your hand and play for... Oh, that actually doesn't matter, right? Because I don't take damage because I'm invincible. Things that don't matter when you're invincible. I'm gonna go ahead and loot here. I don't mind. That's actually fantastic. All right. Well, if this Aegilus lives through this turn, we'll put this other Aegilus into play next turn, and then the game will be over. Our opponent will no longer be able to win. Oh, I said, if you can keep a secret, if one of them is dead. Ding. Okay, that's the game. Sweet. Down the scoreboard at the end here. Can you keep it? Swear this one will say. Gotta lock it in your pocket. Alright, let's try Turbo PA.